Yeah, I was just typing a message. Doesn't seem to be any feed from the meeting.
Yep, I'm actually just about to bring it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just getting everything ready, and then I think we're just about to start.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, how's it going, Tom? Hear me?
Yeah, I was just typing a message. Doesn't seem to be any feed from the meeting.
Yep, I'm actually just about to bring it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just getting everything ready, and then I think we're just about to start.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, how's it going, Tom? Hear me?
Yeah, I was just typing a message. Doesn't seem to be any feed from the meeting.
Yep, I'm actually just about to bring it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just getting everything ready, and then I think we're just about to start.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, how's it going, Tom? Hear me?
Yeah, I was just typing a message. Doesn't seem to be any feed from the meeting.
Yep, I'm actually just about to bring it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just getting everything ready, and then I think we're just about to start.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, how's it going, Tom? Hear me?
Yeah, I was just typing a message. Doesn't seem to be any feed from the meeting.
Yep, I'm actually just about to bring it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just getting everything ready, and then I think we're just about to start.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, how's it going, Tom? Hear me?
Yeah, I was just typing a message. Doesn't seem to be any feed from the meeting.
Yep, I'm actually just about to bring it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just getting everything ready, and then I think we're just about to start.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, how's it going, Tom? Hear me?
Andy.
How are you, Tom?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Is there
Yeah.
no meeting going on?
I think I'm checking the YouTube channel and there are people there, but it's not running. I don't know what's going on. But Cody came out a little while ago and said he was getting things hooked up. So
How are you? Yeah, I saw that Rodney was trying to find
good.
someone else to
I'm
take
good. How
on
are
this
Good, thanks.
task. Is there no meeting going on?
I think I'm checking.
There's not many of us.
And there are people there, not so many left. It's not running. I don't know what's going on. I've been waiting for the cases and transmission rates to go down in El Paso before I go back to an indoor meeting. But
Yeah, I saw that
they
Rodney
don't
was
seem to be
trying to
going
find
down
someone
very
else
much.
to take on this. No, just the opposite when last I looked. Not like,
I think
well, there's not many of us.
Not so
It's
many
interesting
left,
how
it's not running.
we as a country have just gotten
I've been
used
waiting for
to,
the cases and
I think the analogy was, three 747s of people crashing every day,
Yeah.
No, just the opposite. It's just sort of just an interesting, just an interesting place that admittedly is messing with my brain.
Yeah,
We as a
I
country have
couldn't
just
agree
gotten
more.
used to
There's more.
I'm curious what you guys think. I got
Three
my invoice from
747s
Rotary the other day, and they want to start paying for meals. I don't plan to go there for quite a while, for
crashing
the
every
foreseeable
day,
future. I
Yeah.
protested that, but I so far haven't been let off the hook. Have you guys dealt with that yet?
Just an interesting,
Yeah.
just an interesting place. That I have been let off the hook because
Yeah.
I'm not planning to be there
No.
this quarter. And
I'm curious what you guys think. I got.
There's no way I could justify just throwing $1,000 away when I'm not eating.
Yeah, well, Karen wrote me back saying she didn't have the authority to do it. The board had to approve it or some such thing, which I thought was ridiculously bureaucratic. But I don't know.
I have been let off the hook because she checked with someone for me. I don't know if it was Kathleen or the board, whatever. And
Well, I guess presumably
there's
I'll
no
be
way I
approved
could
eventually,
justify
but it
just
was
throwing
irritating.
$1,000 away
Yeah.
when I'm not eating.
Yeah,
I think
Karen wrote me back saying she didn't have the
the
authority to do it. The board
yeah,
had
it
to
just
approve
doesn't
or
make
some such
sense
thing,
if you're
which I
not
thought was
if you know you're not going to be there.
I don't know.
Other than I would have to go on a leave of absence. I don't see how that benefits the club, really.
Yeah, I'm sure that given the demographics of our club, there are plenty of unvaccinated people in there, and obviously nobody's wearing a mask when they're eating a buffet and sitting around a table. So yeah, it doesn't feel safe
It
to
just
me.
doesn't make sense if you're not.
Yeah, I
if
couldn't
you
agree
know
more.
You're not going to be there. Other than well, I'm just glad there are others who feel that way because sometimes I feel like I am just like an outlier.
Demographics of our club, there are plenty of unvaccinated people
and
in there, and obviously nobody's
especially
wearing
with
a mask. When they're
the
eating a
analogy
buffet
I've been
and
using
sitting
is
around a
that
table.
we're in the middle of Arts Month right now. This is one of our big times of year,
Yeah, I
and
couldn't
Yeah,
agree
right.
more.
I've been baking the cake for 8 months.
I'm just
glad, and I can't have any cake, right?
I hear you on the radio every other day. That's cool.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's going great, surprisingly, and I guess in some perverse we weigh the fact that our community is not more concerned about it is allowing many things Arts Month to happen fairly normally, albeit maybe fewer people in a room.
I hear you.
But I was worried at a period of time that people would be like, we're going back to virtual, and it's going great. All this planning would have just, and I guess in some been for naught, but so it's just a weird time. I concerned about it is allowed very weird. Anything Arts Month.
Yeah, I had a cousin in town from the Northwest. And I did go to a restaurant for the first time last week, but it was, a big restaurant with a lot of space around, so I felt relatively okay. But I'm not looking to be in big crowded rooms.
No. Well, I think of the state of the city that the mayor's doing at the Broadmoor, and a week or whatever, they're going to be 700-800 people in there. And even though it's a big high space in the Broadmoor, that's a lot of people in
last week. Yeah, I think it's actually today. I was talking to the store lead, and he was going as one of the UCCS reps to the table.
Okay.
I believe today.
No, you may be right. I knew it was coming up. Tourism office to visit Colorado Springs has their annual meeting. All these things that I would be going to. It's a big high space, for work. A lot of people. I just.
Yeah. I think it's actually today.
It?
My wife works at Colorado College as a reference librarian, so fortunately, most of her time she can be alone in her office with the door closed. But
you may be right.
She does have to be on the desk, the reference desk, sometimes, like this afternoon for several hours, wearing N95 masks, and they're testing regularly, and they have a vaccine requirement. So I guess that's about as safe as you can get in the environment. But
I would say CC is probably one of the safer places you can be these days in this community. They're being very particular about it.
They're testing the sewage regularly, as well as testing individual students.
Really?
Wearing N95 masks.
How would they attribute the sewage to any one individual?
They won't, but they'll realize that there's a dorm that has an infection in it, and then we'll start testing individuals.
I would say CC is probably one of the safer.
There's an isolation dorm. That technique, by the way, of testing sewage is one that the better colleges are all using. They're testing
Interesting.
To detect virus regularly, as well as testing individual students.
Really?
Wearing N95 masks.
How would they attribute the sewage to any? Tom, do you get out and eat out of the house?
There's a dorm that has an infection.
Just a couple of times since I was fully vaccinated. I'm still pretty uncomfortable with going to any crowded restaurants, so I don't. We just order in.
Interesting.
We started the Hello Fresh deal, which is pretty cool.
What's that? Really?
Hello Fresh is, if you've heard of Blue Apron, they deliver all the ingredients for individual meals, and you just follow the directions. A couple of times.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Do they do it weekly or daily?
Well, the plan we're on now, we get 4 meals once a week. We just order in, and the Hello Fresh deal. The produce and the meats are all top quality. And
Yeah.
It just saves having to go to the grocery store.
Sure. Well, whenever, between Trader Joe's and Costco will do occasion, late, early in the morning or late at night, masked up. But otherwise, Walmart and King Soopers occasionally, and Whole Foods, we always do the carry out. Where they bring it out to the car, just to be safe. Sure. Well, whenever, between, feels like we've been doing it forever. Trader Joe's and Costco, year and a half, late, with no end in sight or late at night. But otherwise, Walmart.
I'm kind of surprised. I get the politics, I suppose, but I'm kind of surprised Rotary hasn't decided to move away from this framework. I mean, I realize Kathleen's in a tough spot, given the mix of politics in the club, but man, doesn't look safe to me.
Doing it forever, year and a half. No, and yet everyone seems just as casual as they can be.
Yeah.
I'm
kind of surprised.
Obviously not doing meetings, so it's weird to be one or two people like this on a Zoom call, and then there's 12 or 15 people in a room having a normal meeting. And it
doesn't look safe to me.
And I don't begrudge anyone the right to do it. I just don't understand, just as casual as they can be, how more people aren't more concerned. Obviously not doing.
Well, I got my booster this week, and that's and I ordered more masks.
Two people like this on a Zoom
You know, I
call,
live in a high-rise
and there's
building, so
12,
there
15
are
people
plenty of
who
neighbors, but it's
having a
fortunately,
normal meeting.
most of the time in the elevator, I'm alone, so that's good.
And I don't begrudge anyone the right to do it. Yeah, when I go into the office twice a month, maybe 3 times to do bookkeeping things that I have to do from there. And we're in the Plaza of the Rockies. And if there's someone who wants to take the elevator ride with me, I'm like, go ahead, I'll wait for the next one. Just to be extra safe.
I'm alone, so that's good.
How do you guys feel about doctor's visits?
Yeah,
and
when
visits
I
with
go into
dentists?
the office twice a month, maybe.
I've
3
done
times to
both.
do bookkeeping.
I've done both.
From
My dentist
there.
is the downtown dentist on Tejon, and they're really, really careful. They're
If there's
very
someone who
masked up
wants
and
to take the elevator
take your
ride with me,
temperature and so forth.
go ahead, I'll wait for the next
And
one.
I went to my doctor's office to get the vaccine
Just
this
to be
week.
extra safe.
So that's good.
How do you
And
guys
we're
feel
really
about,
trying to avoid it.
doctor's visits and
Um,
visits with dentists?
I went.
Twice a month, maybe.
I've done both.
I needed to get some new meds
My
or
dentist is the downtown
update my
dentist
meds,
on
and
Tejon,
and
they're really,
so I
really
went in and met with
careful.
my
masked up and
primary.
take
But
your
his
temperature and so forth.
office is not
And
requiring
I went to my doctor's
masks.
office to get the
He
vaccine.
Really?
he happens to wear one.
And we're really
But-
trying to avoid it.
No, they're not. And then my wife has another physician that she's going to, and she asked, and she said, we are not requiring people to do that. And my guess is it's because they don't want to lose the business, that people are just not going to come if they have to wear a mask. And yet, there's just this amazing irony about a medical facility not seeing the value in requiring that.
My wife has.
Yeah.
Well, my doctor is in that big medical building on Curtis Park, just south of Pikes Peak, and there's a big sign right in front of the building. You can't get in the building without a
My
mask.
guess is
Yeah.
because they don't want.
It's all over the board. There's just no, it's the Wild West, man. Everyone's doing their own thing.
There's just this amazing irony about medical.
It would be interesting. Again, just
just
for my own
My
peace of
doctor-
mind,
my doctor's
I'd
in
love
that
to
big
know how many
medical
people
building
are
on
in
Curtis
our
Park, just
position
south of
and
Pikes
who are
Peak,
being
and there's a big
this
sign right in front of the
diligent
building. You can't get in
about
the
it. It
building
just seems
without
like
a
such a
mask.
small
Yeah.
percentage.
It's all over the board. There's just no. It's the wild.
I'm really
But-
surprised.
but maybe I'm wrong.
Given the demographics of our club, that is so many really elder people older than I am.
It would be interesting.
Seem to be cavalier about it.
Again,
I mean, I'm 70, so that's not a spring chicken, but there are plenty of people much older than me.
Yeah. Well, think of Dr. John.
Diligent about it.
He's what? He just turned 90, did he?
Percentage.
And he's a physician. So yeah, it's puzzling.
Given the demographics of our club, that is so many really elder people older than I am.
Is this Ron Rubin right in
Seem to
front of
be
us?
Cavalier about it. I mean, I'm 70, so that's
With the interesting shirt?
Plenty of people
Yeah, I
much
think
older
it
than
could
me.
be.
Because I thought he was not going, and then now he looks like he's decided he's
what? He just turned 90, did he?
going in person.
And he's a physician.
So yeah, it's puzzling.
Given
Think
the
of these-
demographics of our club, that is so
So I
many-
was just thinking of the wait staff here at the Antlers.
Cavalier about it.
They're all masked and gloved up with
But
Right.
interesting shirt.
Think
Yeah,
about
I think it could be.
them having to put
Yes,
themselves
I
in
thought
that
he was not
position
going,
to
and then now
keep
he looks like
working.
He's decided he's what? He just turned
Oh man, it's just nutty.
going in person.
Well, I think everybody has a different calculus for the risk assessment.
Think of these.
So I
You
was just
know,
thinking of
you look at
the
you
wait
look at
staff
the
here at the
statistics, and
Antlers. They're all masked and gloved up.
unless you're immunocompromised,
Interesting shirt.
chances of
Think
a
about
breakthrough
Them having to put
infection
themselves
and
in
the
that
chance of being
position to
hospitalized are
keep working.
relatively low. So
Depends on what virus. I mean, what vaccine you had. Like
Well, I think
we're kicking ourselves that we got Pfizer. We should have gotten Moderna. You know,
Yeah.
but
So I was just thinking of the
you look
I was
at
talking to a former student of mine who's now teaching at the Air Force Academy. She's a very athletic, mid-30s young woman, and she got breakthrough infection and got quarantined for 10 days.
infection and the chance of being
She didn't
hospitalized
get real
is
sick, but she
relatively
got,
low.
like flu-like symptoms for several
Depends
days.
on what virus.
Had to
I mean, what
teach
vaccine
remotely
you had.
again. and
We're
so
kicking
forth.
ourselves that we got
Oh.
Pfizer. We should have gotten Moderna.
If Ashley, the athletic 35-year-old can do it.
Anyone can get it. Yeah.
Teaching at the Air Force.
My brother got it
got
after being fully vaccinated.
Infection and got
And
quarantined for
kicked his butt for a couple days.
She
But
didn't get real sick, but she got, like flu-like symptoms. For a
yeah,
couple
so
days.
it can happen.
Had to teach remotely.
And the wild card is you don't know long term what the impact will
If
be,
Ashley,
even
the
of a
athletic
mild
30-year-old,
infection.
35-year-old can do
Right.
We
it.
probably won't know that for several
Anyone can get
years.
it. Yeah. My brother was a lot of unknowns. Fully vaccinated.
The only good thing, I was listening to a podcast with some epidemiologists were saying, no matter what we do with infections and masks, these pandemics tend to run a natural course and burn themselves out
And the
after
wild card is
a couple of
you don't know
years, usually,
long-term what the impact will be.
for reasons they don't understand.
We probably won't know that for
Let's
several
hope
years.
that's the case.
Yeah. My brother was a lot of unknowns. Fully vaccinated.
The only good thing, I was listening to a podcast with some epidemiologists were saying, no matter what we do with infections and masks, these pandemics tend to run a natural course and burn themselves out after a couple of years, usually.
It definitely is.
For reasons they don't
You miss a lot
understand.
of what
Let's
the
hope that's
pleasure
the
of
case.
Rotary is by not being able to be there in person, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to the point where my wife was asking me, what are you really getting out of this? I'm on the international committee and I've proposed several things. After 2 years on some of them, nothing is happening. So the people action thing is a joke, at least in my little part of Rotary world.
You miss a lot of
I'm getting pretty frustrated with the whole organization, to be honest.
Rotary is by not. Nothing's happening because of COVID, you're saying, or because of other things?
I don't want to trash anybody in particular, but very poor leadership in terms of moving the ball. Specific things get proposed, and then we'll get right on that in the months. For example, you remember we had Heather Beam here in July for talking about that project in Africa, doing STEM education in Africa.
Nothing's happening because
we wanted to do a deep grant, and I'm ready to go on that, but I'm not the chair of the committee, and nothing has happened since July. Specific things get proposed, and then we'll get right on.
Yeah, all volunteer is sometimes challenging. Depends on how motivated the volunteers are.
In Africa, doing STEM education. You probably don't know this, but I spent 20 years as an academic working for the military, where you tend to get stuff done. We want this done. Well, okay, we'll have it stuff by the day after tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
My tolerance for inertia is low.
Is sometimes challenging. Depends on how motivated the volunteers are.
You probably don't know this, but I thought Kathleen was in here virtually, and she for the military, where you tend to get stuff done.
She may have been just her account that was up too.
Oh, I see.
Or she was checking on us, see what we were doing,
Could be
if we
that.
were behaving.
My tolerance for inertia is low.
Is sometimes challenging. Depends on how motivated the volunteers are.
You probably don't know this, but I thought Kathleen was in here virtually, and she for the military, where you tend to get stuff
I saw last week Dave Finkelstein came back.
Oh, I see.
Or was he having trouble with COVID?
He was really ill with something else, actually. I think he nearly died. I've forgotten what the details were, but that was not just COVID, I don't think. Something else. You probably don't know this, but I thought Kathleen was in here virtually, and she for the military, where you tend to get stuff
I saw last week Dave Finkelstein came back.
Oh, I see.
Or was he having trouble with COVID?
He was really ill with something else, actually. I think he nearly died. I've forgotten what the details were, but that was not just COVID, I don't think. Something else. I thought Kathleen was in here virtually, and she for the military.
I saw last week Dave Finkelstein came back.
Oh, I see.
Or was he having trouble with COVID?
He was really ill with something else, actually. I think he nearly died. I've forgotten what the details were, but that was not just COVID, I don't think. Something else.
I saw last week Dave Finkelstein came back. Was he having trouble with COVID?
He was really ill with something else, actually. I think he nearly died. I've forgotten what the details were, but that was not just COVID, I don't think. Something else.
Dave Finkelstein came back, was he having trouble with COVID?
He was really ill with something else, actually. I think he nearly died from it, but it was not just COVID.
Okay, and then we have some Rotary anniversaries.
Came back, was he having trouble with
Anyway,
COVID?
so taxation
He was really
sector.
ill with something else, actually. I think he nearly died.
Okay.
But
Alicia
it was
Apple.
not just COVID.
Very spark. But I joined a Rotary Club because in high school, I had the great fortune of being a Rotary Youth Exchange student. And being from small town Iowa, at a very young age, I learned that there was more to the world than small town Iowa. So we had a family friend who was a youth exchange student. So by the time I was in 5th or 6th grade, I knew that I was going on exchange. So that's where I got my intro to Rotary. So unfortunately, I kind of lost touch with Rotary throughout college, but I did do a few presentations. When I joined Rotary, and now I'm here. So you're probably wondering how I got here. Well, my parents actually built a house here. My stepdad grew up coming to Colorado, so my family was always kind of like, we're moving to Colorado. So I said, what the heck? The mountains, of course, are a big draw. And actually, I always, liked the mountains, but in Charlotte, I was close to the beach and the mountains. And I had another great opportunity through Rotary. If you can't tell, Rotary offers lots of opportunities. I got to climb Mount Kilimanjaro with 5 other Rotarians. My district in North Carolina did this. I went for the 7th year, and we raised money for polio. So that was kind of I fell in love greatly with the mountains and became an avid hiker. I love hiking. So that was something cool that Rotary does. And of course, I was a youth exchange student. So now I happily serve on the district committee as the rebound coordinator. And I know Tim Calling is also on the committee. So if you don't know, a rebounder is just someone who has gone on exchange and comes back. So I'm very excited to hopefully continue getting our club involved in youth exchange, host families. I know it can be daunting, but I promise it's fun. I got to go back in 2014 to where I lived in Argentina. I forgot to mention that I went to Argentina. And my host families and all of my friends, they're still my family and my best friends. So it really changes people's lives. It changed my life. So I'm very excited, and thank you.
Katie has been absolutely amazing, and when Jody and Kay hosted a meeting, what was it, in January or February, I think, about flight for this year, Katie was on the meeting, and then she stepped up and volunteered and helped Carol and Amanda with silent auction. So thank you so much. I'm so glad, and she's bringing some of her knowledge from her prior club to help us with some of our community service programs here as well. So let's see if who has the mic now? Somebody, okay, could you give that to Donna, please? Oh, she's got it. Okay, great. Thank you.
So last week we had put out a call for 10. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Put out for 10 Rotarians to volunteer once a week to read in an elementary school, a deal in an elementary school with 2nd graders. And we needed 10 to make the program work. We got 11 and 1 substitute. So we could actually use a couple more substitutes, but we are well on our way to having our literacy project in the school.
Then I had a couple of things. First of all, I need to ask you guys to start inviting people to come to meetings, and I'm glad some of you already have, and thank you so much. On October 29, our program will be the mayor. He's going to be doing some type of a State of the City, which I know a lot of you are going to that program as well. But he's going to be doing that type of program, so it's a fabulous program to be inviting guests to. I just need to know a couple of days ahead of time if you could let Karen Moody or myself know if you're going to be bringing a guest. We don't even need the name, but just so that we have enough food here for everybody. But that would be a great program. I remember a couple of years ago when the mayor was coming, I put on Facebook, "Hey, who wants to go see the mayor at my Rotary program this week?" And I had several people come forward, and I was able to bring some of them. So it is a good program. A lot of people are interested in hearing the mayor talk, and so us included. So please use October 29 as a good day to invite people. The other thing, and I wrote about this in the newsletter briefly, we really need more people to step up and be willing to do Zoom hosting. Rodney's been doing it every week since he's been president-elect, or since he's been past president, and we need to get him out with the people, you know? And so Cody is so kind to help out with that as well, and now Fabrizio has volunteered, he'll be helping. But if there's anybody else in the club that is interested, you don't need any prior IT knowledge. I guess, Kate, haven't you expressed interest in doing that as well? I was told, somebody told me that you were going to be involved in that as well. So thank you to those of you who I don't even know about yet that have already talked about it. But we do need several people so that we don't have the same people having to do it, you know, every week or every other week. So the more people, the better. And that way we can get our maybe past president out and engaging with people. So those were my two announcements. Ooh, it is 1 o'clock. So I'd like to welcome Jody Ritchie to the podium to introduce our speaker for today.
Good afternoon. Isn't this a great way to end the week? I just love Rotary. So, as you might have heard, my name's Jody Ritchie, and I'm here to introduce our speaker this week, Susan Davies, who is the Executive Director of the Trails and Open Spaces Coalition. And she has been there for 11 years. And I can tell you that just what I have seen around our community, and I'm sure you have too, that they work with partners, and they have been, I'm going to read this now, they have been instrumental in preserving thousands of acres of open space and creating hundreds of miles of trails that we all enjoy. And I have to say that I think a lot of that success has to do with Susan's leadership. I've had an opportunity to meet her through working on the TOPS campaign, and it's really been an honor to work with her. So make no mistake, she is a force, and you will hear that in her presentation. Today, she's going to give us an update on trail projects and share information about a couple of the measures that's going to be on the ballot in November, and that will improve our city and county parks and trails and help protect especially our favorite open spaces from wildfires. So, Susan, it's all yours. Well, it is a pleasure to be with you today. Can you over here see this okay? Okay, great. And it's great to see some friends. I served with George and Wayne on the on our local our nonprofit organization. We were all on the board together with CNE, and which is now part of the Colorado Nonprofit Association, but nonetheless, it's great to serve with you. It's great to see some familiar faces, and it is really fun to tell you about what's going on and how you can get involved in what's going to be happening on November 2nd. So, I'm looking forward to that. I'll grab my little thing here, and let's get underway. So yes, we are the Trails and Open Space Coalition. I had been 30 years in TV news, where I did the weather, where I did some anchoring, but my favorite job of all was to be an environmental reporter. And I did that here, I did that at KOAA. Before that I was in Cleveland, before that Pittsburgh, before that Syracuse, and before that Green Bay. The typical sort of nomadic journalist journey. But we are so happy. My husband and I and our now in college daughter live here now, and I'm never leaving, so that's my plan. But nonetheless, about 11 years ago, when my predecessor was resigning and retiring, I was really sad because he was one of my favorite people to interview, and it was my husband that encouraged me to go ahead and apply for his job, which was one of the smartest things that I think I ever did. So let's start with what's new. So these are opportunities you're going to have in the months to come, and in a few cases weeks to come, where there is going to be new places for you to play. I was actually going to ask Katie, where do you like to hike?
Oh, there's lots of places. Probably like Grand Yachts or Homework.
Yeah, those are great places. And I know Wayne and I took a really tough hike about, what was it, a year or two ago? Was at Mount? Heiser Trail. I thought you were going to kill me, but it was such, and he's just going up like a mountain goat. But you know, we are so very, very fortunate. We have so many amazing places to hike. hike. And, but we always want new, right? Well, the county is about to open. It hasn't happened yet, but King Ranch Open Space, which is just east of Fountain, 440 acres. Now, it's not like Garden of the Gods, or it's not like the Heiser Trail. It is a large ranch that was donated to the county. It's going to be great for mountain biking and for horses. And it'll be great also to see the burrowing owls that are out there. A 4-mile loop, they're going to be putting in a gate because we're having a lot more problem with vandalism of late. So wisely, the county is going to first put that gate in before they actually open it up to the public. And I did that wrong. Okay. No, other way. Okay, sorry. Santa Fe Open Space. So that trail, those trails are under development. If you live in the northern part of the county, then that's a place you're going to want to check out. It's just off the Santa Fe Trail. Not very big, but lovely vistas of Mount Herman, the Front Range. It's just going to be a very, very nice place to be. About 40 acres. This is what you'll see on some of the little higher points along there. But that will be opening up with new trails within the next, maybe in a few months or so. They say they're getting very, very close. Other trail projects that are underway, the Daniels Pass Trail. Those are going to be tough. There's going to be some interesting hiking there. That's part of North Cheyenne Canyon, but those trails are being built as we speak. They're supposed to open next month. Now, maybe you've heard that the bridges are currently being reconstructed in North Cheyenne Canyon, so you can't drive in there right now. But you can hike, you can take your bike in there, and those trails will be a great thing to check out. We recently did a master plan process with University Open Space, Austin Bluffs Open Space, Pulpit Rock, that whole area near UCCS, and that new spine trail is going to be great. Legacy Loop, or Ute Valley Regional Trail. So one day you're going to be able to hike or take your bicycle from Blodgett all the way down Ute Valley Regional Trail to the Pikes Peak Greenway. So it's going to be wonderful for bikers and people that want to commute to the city that way. Legacy Loop, we've talked about it forever. It's a 10-mile loop around the city that has a few tough spots still to finish. On the northern side is what's going to be worked on this next summer, within the next year. And then the hardest part of all is a little piece that we have to do in the southeast corner of the loop to get under the railroad tracks. And that is going to still take a little time. But again, work is underway to get that finally complete. So more of the greenways have been built, Homestead Trail, Sand Creek, which will be going over Hancock, which is going to be huge for people to get to the greenway, and then take the Sand Creek the other way, past Platte. So as you can see, lots going on, lots of great trail projects, fixing trails. What I really want to talk to you about, though, is the fact that all of this was made possible because of the TOPS program. Passed in '97, maybe many of you remember voting for it. Nonetheless, it was something, it was really a game changer. And I actually spoke to somebody that said they were on that committee at the time. That's very exciting. So we've had 24 years of TOPS now, expires in 2025. In that time, over 7,000 acres of open space purchased. And I bet all of you have your favorites, whether it's Cheyenne Mountain State Park, Red Rock, Blodgett, eastern end of Ute Valley Park. I could go on and on, but you know just what a difference it has made in our community. 66 parks built or improved. Can anybody name this one here?
I'm Briar.
Yes. John Venezia. Yeah, I think I heard someone say, yeah, Venezia Park. If you need a moment of joy, just go to Venezia. The families, the kids, they're just loving it. The pickleball players, they're all out there. And it's the last community park that we built. It took 20 years to get it done, but it is so loved right now. And then we constructed over 50 miles of trails, all because of that one penny on every $10 spent in Colorado Springs. It's been a mighty penny indeed. So now we're looking at the TOPS ballot initiative, which is 2C. What it's going to do is increase the TOPS tax from 1 penny to 2 pennies. Now I know that sounds like a big jump, but we are still the lowest TOPS tax up and down the Front Range. And I want to show you what $1.17 a month looks like. I've got a little jar here with 117 pennies. That's what it's going to cost in addition to the average household, $1.17 a month. How come so cheap? because tourists help pay for that tax. So when Trusted Public Land did the research, they found that that's what it will cost us. So those are the two questions I get. Why should I vote for 2C? How much is it going to cost me, and what's it going to do? Well, let's talk about what's it going to do in just a second. But, so we have the extension of 20 years. City Council has said that they are committed to maintaining general fund support for parks. Very important. So we won't be going backwards. We will certainly be going forward with more money for parks. And there's slight changes to the percentages. So off the top, we're going to put enough into administration that work can get done. That's been a challenge with the program until now. 25% off the top is going to take care of what we have. That's a common complaint. Don't buy this stuff if you can't take care of it. So this addresses that. And then of the remaining money, 40% is going to go for parks, 30% for trails, and 30% for open space. And as I mentioned, pretty small amount per household. And I keep doing that, I'm sorry. All right, so what kind of trail projects could be addressed with that money? Because the trail category is going to more than double. So these are some of the trails that have challenges and crumbling asphalt, or there's a gap in them. All of those in the years to come are going to see improvement and extension. So, I mean, we have an amazing trail system, but it's going to be that much better. In many of our neighborhoods, there's a piece of property like that one, surrounded by weeds, surrounded by houses, and there's no park. When developers give land in lieu of fees to the Parks Department, they have expectations that a park will be built, but there hasn't been money to build those parks or maintain those parks. Now that we're increasing the TOPS tax, finally, we'll begin to address. We're not going to get 15 done in the first couple of years, but we'll start chipping away at that list. And so finally, promised parks will be done. Many of you perhaps participated in the planning process for Antlers, Alamo Square, and Acacia downtown parks. Great plans, no money to build them. Again, now we're going to possibly have, now we will start having some funding to start getting some of that done. And then we have existing park sites that need to be addressed. This is a portal park, not far from Templeton Gap and Union. That's what that swimming pool looked like all summer long. As warm as it was, locked up. No money to fix it. On the right side, you have Van Diest Park, where the basketball court, there's no net. We actually have 42 courts like that around the city, where they're just hardly playable. And then we have tennis courts like this that are actually locked up, and they've taken the nets down. And that's certainly nothing that should happen in Olympic City, USA. So we have really created a city, a system of haves and have-nots. But with this increase in this extension, we're going to start to address those disparities throughout our city. And then there's the open space purchases. You're going to be hearing about one very shortly that's going to come before City Council in the next few weeks for a vote. And this is 400 acres that's just north of Cheyenne Mountain State Park. It's gorgeous. It's going to be great for hiking, and it's also going to provide a section of the Chamberlain Trail, which it's just going to be sort of our mountain version of the Pikes Peak Greenway. So watch for that, but it's just a beautiful piece of property. You're looking at Corral Bluffs in the middle. We haven't opened it to the public yet, but again, once we get some planning done and some protection, they'll be able to open that. And on the far side is a place called Kettle Creek on the north side of town, and a beautiful hiking there too. So there are open space purchases to make. The way it works, we have to have a willing seller. It doesn't always happen when you want it to happen, but when it's available, we have to have the dollars to actually get it done. So I would ask you to consider these items as we look forward to getting this passed in November. If you can make a contribution, happy to give you some information, and you've got cards on your table where you can take that with you, please. It identifies the parks that will be built, and it also shows how you can make a contribution. And we just got word yesterday that the Trust for Public Land has put up $25,000, and they will match us dollar for dollar for any money that we're able to raise between now and the end of campaign. So your dollar will go further if you are willing to help us out at this time. So yes, make a contribution. As important is to get the facts. Make sure you understand how much it costs and what's going to get accomplished, and share that with your friends, your neighbors, wherever you work. We need that story to get out there. My fear is that if we lose, it'll be because of ignorance and just apathy. This is not a big election. We've got people running for school board and a few other issues, but it's not one of the big ones. So some people may not bother to vote, but we need you to bother to vote, please, and share, and please encourage others to do the same. We have some yard signs in the back corner. If you live in the city, if you have a busy street, please take one with you and put it out in your front yard. We'd be so very grateful. And yeah, just definitely spread the word. Now, very quickly, I'm good. I wanted to share a little bit about 1A and 2D. They will also be on the ballot. And they all have a park connection. 1A is the county retention. So you would be forgoing a little break on your property tax. And I know property taxes went up this year. But it's a one-time only, doesn't raise taxes, and it will mean $2 million for El Paso County parks. Obviously the roads are important to you, but my passion is the parks. And the county parks are very underfunded, and they're beautiful. And during COVID, where were we? We were in the parks, we were on the trails, we were in the open space. And I know that many of you probably use Bear Creek Park, or maybe you're up at Fox Run Park, or Falcon, or Fountain. They're beautiful parks, and the staff does a great job. But the bottom line is they have a whole list of things they'd like to get done. That $2 million will help. The 2D, that's a very interesting proposition. So that too is a table retention. And so you would be forgoing a little break on your utility bill, which we can all use, but this again is a one-time only, that will put $20 million into a fund that can bear interest, and then they'll take up to $1 million a year and invest it in wildfire management. So going into forests, thinning it out, making them safer, making the neighborhoods around those open spaces and forests safer. We all remember Waldo Canyon. We don't want another one of those. We're one of the organizations working to get that reopened and get those trails back in there, and it's such a process. And when you think about what a 2-week fire can do that takes years and years to recover, this is a great investment in our dollars. So I would argue that would be great. So November 2nd is election day. Your ballots will start to arrive on Monday. They're going out today. And we would just, again, ask you to look at the facts and make your decision. So I'm delighted to answer any questions you have about trails, parks, and open space, or share with me where you'd like to hike or what you're seeing out there. But it is a pleasure to be back with you again. I was here a few years ago, and I hope I get to come back again. Yes, sir.
First, let me say, is this on?
Yeah.
First, let me say, Susan, we are so fortunate to have you. You are positive, you're enthusiastic, and you make a huge difference in our community. So, I'm the one that Susan referred to as being on the TOPS working committee, and it's incredible. I think we all need to really make sure these pass, because they will make a huge difference to us, to people who will be moving here in the future, and I'm sure 90% of us, except for John, no, John too.
I thought that was Carl.
And get a yard sign. Let's make sure that this happens and that this passes, because it's so good for our community.
Can you come with me to every other speaking engagement I do? Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Susan. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
My first question is, I can see your website up there. Is that where we would go if we wanted to see a map or a list of all the current trails? Because I'm not sure where to go if I want to see where all the trails that are available are.
Two sources. So this is the campaign website, the trailsopenspaceparks.com. And again, that's going to be on the sheet in front of you. But if you go to our website, and we have a whole section on TOPS properties and lists a lot of those things. So between those two, I think you're going to find a lot of information you're looking for.
What is your website?
Trailsandopenspace.org. Just trailsandopenspace.org. And I have a business card. I'm happy to send it with you. But trailsandopenspace.org.
Yeah, I can have a question. I appreciate what you're saying, that a lot of this is going to go towards maintenance. But it makes me ask questions. Wasn't that included in the original TOPS? And I use short TOPS, and I think it's great to have trails and open space. But it seems like every time we hear about additional measures, they're always saying we need more money for maintenance, and I keep thinking, well, why don't we put that into the original ballot measure that goes into place? And I was wondering if you could address that a little bit, because it seems like they had said that originally, and I feel like it keeps coming back going, whoops, we don't have money for maintenance. It's like, well, that's not what we were told. So that's my biggest concern is, you know, maybe we need to put more money, if this passes, towards maintenance as opposed to building more.
That's a great question. That is a great question, and it is. So when you all decided, because I didn't live here yet, but kudos to you, when you all decided to pass this in '97, the top priority was acquisition. You had to put the majority of your money, or you wouldn't have been able to buy Red Rock Open Space, and Blodgett, and Cheyenne Mountain State Park, and University Park, and I could go on and on. I mean, land was never cheap. It's even less cheap now. It's really, really expensive. So it was really very visionary of those first folks to put 60% of the money, at least 60% of the money, into acquisition. Now, eventually they said, you're right, we've got to take care of this. And they put but 5% into maintenance. The other piece is, open space costs about $75 per acre per year to take care of. But as we've grown as a city, we have built more parks, and parks cost $12,000 an acre per year to take care of. So I am so pleased that they have gone from the 5% maintenance to the 25% maintenance. And the fact that we hope to be doubling this from 10 or 11 million to 22 million, okay, now 25% of 22 million is some real money. So they're going to be able to do a much better job of maintaining our parks and trails. And again, open space doesn't require very much. So the needs have changed. This program is going to make it so much more flexible. How many of you play pickleball? Any of you play pickleball? All right, I see a few. Okay, or so maybe some people aren't afraid to admit that. I am so impressed with our local Pikes Peak pickleball group because they are growing exponentially and they are a force to be reckoned with. It is one of the fastest growing sports in the entire country. 20 years ago, we didn't even know what pickleball was, but we're wise enough to know that recreation trends change, people's tastes change, so this new TOPS program is going to allow for more flexibility so that as people want to do things that make sense and take care of our property, you know, that we're going to have the ability to do that. So it's just an example. Things change. Was that a good answer? It was okay. All right. Yes.
I love to hike in the Stratton Preserve above Cheyenne Mountain High School, and I love going up to the reservoir, South Suburban Loop. But that trail is in horrible condition. There are washouts all the way from the bottom to the top. I've got pictures. Who do I talk to try to get some maintenance there?
You're talking to her. I mean, in addition to being an advocacy organization, we do work with all of our friends groups around the region. We have 25 of them. And there actually is a Friends of Stratton friends group. And I will happily pass along to their board that this is some of the comments that we got and
I'll show you
pass
some
it on.
pictures after the meeting.
Okay, okay. But again, it speaks to a couple things. Some of our properties are being used to death, and especially during the pandemic, where being outdoors was the best and safest place to be. So people came from around the region, we saw lots of license plates from other states, coming to hike in our open spaces because it was so good for us to be out there, physical and mental health. So they need work, and work takes money, so, but thank you, I will pass it along. Yes, sir, yes ma'am.
I feel like the mountain bikes are really hard on the trails that I hike on, and I hike in where Mark does. What's the policy on, I mean, I know they're allowed, but is there a big picture policy on protecting the trails from mountain biking? Because it seems that they bike on all the trails.
So there are a few trails around our region, but only a handful that do not allow mountain bikes. The decision was made years ago that we would be a multi-use system, non-motorized, but we do allow bikes, horses, and hikers. I don't disagree with you, and especially the way some of our mountain bicyclists are pretty aggressive and don't always stay on trail, and it leads to more erosion and so forth. Some of that is a better job of communication, education. There's a whole effort going on right now in the city called Leave No Trace, which is marvelous, and it's trying to convince people to leave it the way you found it, and that includes the mountain bikes. Don't be riding when it's a wet day and muddy trails and leaving big grooves. Stay on the trail. If you have a dog, make sure you clean up after it. And in our system, we need to keep it on a leash. So there's a real effort underway to help both our visitors and people here learn the rules. But it is a problem. And part of that is as we grow as a population and more people use them. But well spoken. Any other questions?
Yes. I think I heard you mention something about vandalism. Do you have any sense of why? Is it increasing and why and what's being done about it?
I can tell you what's being done about it. I think that the city's stepping up efforts to try to have more security, put more cameras in, try to do some prosecution. They think that in some cases it's like the same gang of adolescent young men that are out there just to create damage. It's certainly worse than it used to be. And I don't know that they really understand why, but we know that we absolutely have to take care of it, and they've got to step up efforts. Thank you. Yes?
One question on maintenance. You said a certain percentage goes to maintenance. Well, if that isn't enough, are we going to keep acquiring property and still have maintenance go in the tank?
Well, as I mentioned before, open space is really inexpensive to maintain. Because all you're doing is putting in a trailhead. It really isn't. Now, what's expensive to maintain are the trails and parks. So I think there is a sensitivity that we're not going to build a park unless we can take care of it. Or we shouldn't be expanding our trail system unless we can take care of it. But this will help address that.
Yeah, but are you going to put maintenance first or acquisition?
Well, I will tell you, there's a real loud voice in some corners of our community that says, we're not going to vote for this because we're afraid you're not going to buy any more open space. And then in the next breath, we hear people saying, don't you dare buy any more open space unless you can take care of it. So you can see that we have some competing values going on here. But I think that we're really fortunate that we have the TOPS Working Committee, and then we also have the Parks Advisory Board that listen to these kinds of comments, and they make decisions on the budget to try to balance those competing interests.
Well, can you go above the percentage you set for?
Absolutely, yeah. You can go above 25%, but it guarantees at least 25%. Yes, thank you. Yes, hey Wayne.
Hey, thanks Susan, you're great. We appreciate you being here. This is a comment, a personal editorial. As a hiker, and a hiker that takes my dog frequently, I'm appalled by the number of people that will let their dogs go to the restroom and they bag it, but they don't take it with them. I don't understand why people how people can justify leaving a plastic bag on a trail instead of just letting their dog excrement. So is there a way in a maintenance situation that we could add more dog stations or something like that?
So don't you see the poop fairy? She's out there. She's collecting those little bags.
Yeah, right.
No, she's not. So we're actually having an event, Wayne, a week from Saturday where it's called Scoop the Poop, where we're going to be providing bags for people and teaching them why it's so bad for the watershed and please clean up after yourself. So some of it's got to be education. Some of the friends groups actually do step up and do some of these cleanups from time to time, but it really gets back to the whole leave no trace principles of encouraging people with dogs, do the right thing and don't leave your bag along the trail. Yeah, we gotta get that word out.
Susan, thank you for being here. Could you discuss the relationship between TOPS and the Parks Department and the responsibilities and duties between the two?
Sorry, between my organization and
your organization, the Parks Department, the City Parks Department.
Sure, thank you very much. So when my founder started this organization, well, there was a group of folks that came together to start it. And they really realized that somebody had to pay attention to the fact that these plans were being done and nothing was getting done. So my organization, it was originally the Pikes Peak Trails organization, eventually helped get the first TOPS tax passed. And then from there, we really try to be the champions of the program. We get absolutely none of that money. We strictly get our money from memberships and businesses and a few events from time to time and a few grants. So that really puts us in a really good place to be able to defend the program since we never see any of that money. But we're a 501c3, not for profit. And then the TOPS program is part of the City Parks Department. Thank you. Okay, last one, and then I know I gotta give it back to you. Yes?
Easy question.
Sure.
$1.17 for the, what's the total amount?
It's gonna be double what it is now, which is about 11 million, so it'll be another 11 million.
22 million.
You got it. Well, come, I'll be sitting here. Please feel free to come up, and if you had a question that didn't get answered. And I also have a bunch of dog park brochures that show all the dog parks in the region. So I'd love you to take one with you. And then I also have 1A, 2C, 2D, and a little QR code that you can put on your phone and check out later. But it really gives you more information on why these three are so very important. Thanks for your time, and please vote.
Thank you so much, Susan. We really appreciate you being here. Obviously, very popular topic. So I wanted to present you with a certificate for speaking to us today. And then a Rotary class. So thank you very much. Let's say that. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much. You have a great week.